welcome. Here I'm going to talk about leveraging AI in classrooms design and renovation. After my presentation, Alan and his partner will demonstrate some Cisco devices, right? Is that right, Alan? All right, thank you. For those who never met, my name is Wei-Fa. People refer me as Wi-Fi or highway, whatever you prefer, but just stay in that range, okay? Wi-Fi or Wei-Fa or highway. I'm the Associate Dean for Information Technology for Rutgers Law School. I do system integrations, etc., classroom included, at my facility in collaboration with OIT and physical plants. So this is just, I tried my best to compress the history of AI in one page. I can do multiply, I can do multiple pages, but I want to encourage you to move forward so you can see better, have a functional seat. But anyhow, the AI started, believe it or not, in 1950s. As some people may interpret it as new, but it's not. It's being dressed up, repacked in multiple versions. It started as machine learning, and then people start calling it big data, et cetera, et cetera. Now we finally at a stage that we can name it artificial intelligence. It's actually started pretty much like when the computer started. Okay. Now, why it become popular now? It turns out one is the algorithm of AI calculation has been improved dramatically since 2010. The second part is the GPU, the graphic processing unit. Okay, so now we have a GPU. We have GPUs that can process AI algorithms reliably in a much faster fashion than the CPU does. Okay, so now the price of running the business come down dramatically. And in 2020, GPT, or now OpenAI, they break the ice a little bit by announcing kind of privately to a few corporations that they can access GPT AI through API, application programming interface. Okay, they did it for like 2 years, do some internal tests, and that only they did a training on internal data. And then in 2020, November, they decided to announce it, make it publicly available. That's what we know as ChatGPT 3.5. Everybody can access that then. Now we are 1.5 years down, we are using ChatGPT 4.0, which is freely accessible to everybody. The next one, or the one that currently using through API is ChatGPT 4 Turbo. Okay, it's not on the website, but you can access it through API. There are different flavors of AI. The first one is the publicly accessible AI. I just use the ChatGPT as the example. You just pay you can use it either free, or if you don't want to wait, you want to have better accessibility, you can pay $20 per month, and you can have priority access. The ChatGPT 4.0 right now is based on broad knowledge base. That is, the cutoff date is, I think it's October 2023. So anything happened after October 2023, if you ask ChatGPT 4.0, it will not know, okay? Or it just give you some misleading information. So you have to bear that in mind. There are other AIs that can do real-time data interpretation, etc. But they all offer real-time interaction. Okay, the data may not be real-time, but the interaction can be in real-time. The second flavor is the private AI. If you remember what I just said about the ChatGPT, it started as a private AI. It's not publicly accessible, only accessible through corporate environment. So, but people just to keep the data local and in a secured way, but they want to try the AI out, just mainly for testing and for business intelligence. What I'm interested in is that will be another topic of mine, but that next one is what is the open source AI, right? That turns out is tap into the two different flavors that I just mentioned. It's open source, so you can have it hosted in your own premises, and it can tap into your data and get trained. So you have your own kind of private data running on a low-cost environment. It's getting a little bit complicated when I talk about price. From top down, the price goes dramatically like increased, okay? Public AI, like I said, you just need to pay like $10, $20. That's kind of the standard now per month because you share the service with others and because the knowledge is general. There's nothing special, nothing fine-tuned for your application, for your school, okay? Nothing special. Open source AI, again, it's free, but you have to have a quite beefy hardware to run the open AI, the algorithms, etc., and get the training data. You have to do all these kind of things by yourself. So that is a cost too. But in general, it's kind of free, if you will, okay? Private AI is the most expensive one. Normally, just keep it closely guarded. People pour in millions of dollars to just for different testing, etc. If they feel it's good enough, it may just open up, provided as a public AI. Now, I just want to focus on publicly accessible generative AI because that's the tool that everybody can access. When I started this topic, like in January, I think it just by consequences, I just landed on these 5 different brands. Okay, everybody knows ChatGPT, everybody knows Copilot because you are using Microsoft 365, etc. It's embedded in that environment. Cloud, my faculty members, they like the cloud a lot because they said it's more research-oriented and provides a lot of fine-tuned answers than ChatGPT does. Gemini, I think it's just the last try of Google for changing before it's changing its business model. Nobody really well, I cannot say nobody, but at least me, I don't like that particular chat environment. It just don't provide good answer. Perplexity is good, but it doesn't have a good programming environment for me. If I ask it some programming questions, it may give me, it's not artificial intelligence in that sense. It will be like artificial idiot. So I just don't like it. They both, AIs, but I prefer, after I try all this, I prefer the ChatGPT, okay? Consequently, Wall Street Journal also come up in an article. It may discuss this, but the article is focusing on more on general use, not school use, okay? Here is a little chart that I asked ChatGPT created based on my verbal description. So here I want to, based on my prediction and my experiences in the industrial world for like 20 some years, that's my prediction. Right now, the blue dots designate where we are at the AI stage, okay? As you can see, we are at a very early down of this, okay? Where the cost is very high, and so is the technology risk, okay? You want to keep that in mind. There is always a risk. Like ChatGPT, who knows how long it will last, okay? The business opportunity is not that good because, it just started grow. But later on, as we progress, the cost will eventually go down and the technology risk of adapting it will go down as well. Then we will have more business opportunity, meaning we can use it more broadly, okay? And before you adapting AI, you may also consider these 4, ask you and your school leaders about these questions, especially the privacy and the data security. Because each school may have, I don't know your school, but my school just announced the AI policy like a month ago. regulating what data can or cannot be shared through ChatGPT. Okay, if your school doesn't have that regulation, you may want to think about it, especially those information that categorized as student data. You don't want to plug your student data into a chat environment and then accidentally leak the data. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing is the bias that the keynote speaker, he also mentioned a little bit about the algorithmic bias. Again, the AIs, they are programmed by human. So the bias is kind of inherited from the human programmers. Okay, it's hard to get rid of. The third thing is the transparency. It's hard to tell, like the ChatGPT. To me, the ChatGPT is more like a black box. I only know that I plug in this information is giving me this feedback. What happened in between? I don't know. What algorithm it used? I know a little bit, but not too much. Okay, whether or not there is a bias, I don't really know. But you can always try and fail. Another thing is the last part that I concern the most, the human AI collaboration. Ideally, I want the AI to be working a way for us, not against us. Like I wish that 20 years down the road, when I come back here in another Kelly session, I will talk about how great the AI has been, not how bad the AI sucked and then liberate my job in that way, in that nature, okay? I want the human factor, the human element to be preserved. I mentioned the programming management in my season proposal, but then I kind of regret it because as I tried the ChatGPT, it turns out it's not really there yet. Okay, it's there. There are many tools like I listed here. There are many tools that has that project management component. However, they are not talking to each other. And there are so many data segmentations that you cannot using these tools really effectively to the way that I want to discuss. You need to keep that in mind. I will try my best to narrow it down. Remember, we are only 1.5 years in at the early dawn of the AI. I'm not saying that 20 years from now, AI will not do something like this, okay? The idea is AI eventually will be able to do the planning, scheduling, and optimization all automatically in a row and help the project management team and individual integrators like me to do a better job, okay? That's the goal. Having said that, I try to leveraging the AI for room redesigning, then we can have a smart room infrastructure, a better efficiency in room management, so we can do automations, etc., like turn on certain systems on certain time based on the user behavior, etc., and based on your data. Then I found that there are so many information silos among your organizations that may not, you may not be able to do the type of work that you wanted or fully benefit taking advantage of AI. So the first thing you have to do is actually talk to your leaders. Ask them about data integration, okay? So you have a full data set that you can tap into so the AI, whatever you decide to use, will be effective, okay? I know it's a long job, a long process. We've been talking about that since Google came out, okay? 20 years down the road, we are still talking about it. There are so many things that we cannot decide. But anyhow, people are starting, like it or not, people are starting integrating AI components into the specific field, like the seamless hybrid collaboration. Zoom already have that AI component enabled so that you can send better chat messages, you can capture, you can create closed caption, the CC, what I call it, the CC captions. Yeah, the live captions on the fly. It's already kind of there. Later on, we may be able to use AI to design the layout, the classroom layout, etc. But again, the AI needs to know your specific environment like how big the room would be, how many chairs are you planning to use, that kind of thing. Okay, so it's there, but you have to get your data right. Only after that we can talk about technology. We can enable the technology then. All right. The hope is after all this, all the troubles, etc., we can have finally do something like saving money is because of we have like this room is nobody occupying, then we turn off the AC, etc. That saves some money. And then we can increase attendance because we provide a better environment for learning. Okay, that's my hope. That's just a prediction. Probably 5-6 years down the road. There are some other organizations already doing that. They call that smart building. We have to have a smart building first, but that requires a lot of capital investment that we may not have. So it's all, you have to really wait. But you have to like know when your opportunity is right. Okay. After that, we will have adaptive space and provide some insights, for data analysis for your room usabilities, etc. And then you can do a better design for integration. Okay. Now, only when the capital investment is there, your AI can take advantage. You can take advantage of your AI and do something like this to increase student engagement, and then more importantly to me, for people like me, managing classrooms, we can maintain the insights of how the classrooms are being used, what kind of faculty behaviors we have, and then we can fine-tune our services a little bit. Okay. Now the challenges are still there. The first challenge is we talk about that. I talked about that a little bit before, the ethical challenge. Okay, you have to make sure the private data, etc., is protected, data security is there, and then the technology barriers. Your faculty may be the first group to against you. Okay, but we are actually doing a good job. We're trying to do a good job to get benefits to your faculty members. And the big concern is the funds. All these are just money. Okay, if you don't have money, you may not be able to do all this. The capital investment is not me, like an IT person, and can make the call. Okay. Now I want to drill down a little bit and try to finish it up. So I try to use the AI as much as I can. Okay. Again, it's still in its early age. The one specific example I'm going to give you is the spatial design. Okay. So now take a look. These are a markup that I created. Okay, the one on to your left is a real image that I captured. The one to your right is the one that only take me like 2 minutes to get it to the degree that we have. As you may see here, I purposely placed a lot of furniture there. Okay, and the AI can remove it in a quite good way. However, if you look at the reflections from the floor, you can still see the image, the picture, the pins, okay, from the reflection. Where you have the TV, when you hung up the TV, you should not see that reflection, right? The reflection. But anyhow, this is something that I can use to convince my dean, at least to get my conversation started, like how I imagine this place is going to be renovated, right? And then I ask it, without any limitation, what kind of configuration you can come up with. I use another AI with the same image, and it give me something like this. But I want you to pay attention to this, to this little thing here. What is that? What is that? These two chairs, why they are there? See that? It's inside a box. Nobody can sit in. So that is something, that's why I said, the more I try it, the less I'm optimistic. Okay. It's there, it's not really there yet. But again, I cannot guarantee that 5 years or 20 years, I'm still seeing the same thing. The goal, again, is just to collect enough data. And when we do integration, we have better fit for to provide for a to personalize the usability of the classroom. One feature I tried with the AI is to help me to pick up some equipment. If you were here from my last presentation last year this time, I do classroom integrations, etc. I put cables myself. I do programming on the touch panels. I do all that. I know devices. I know how to pick them. So this year I tried to forget about it. Let's try AI. So I asked a few questions about ask the AI like this one. I'm using extra equipment to renovate my classroom. I need an audio amplifier to drive 6-speaker array. Browse the extra websites and recommend a model for me. And they picked the one that I had in mind. So that is a correct answer. Okay. And then I asked it specifically, I need an HDMI switcher that takes at least 2 inputs and support 4K HDMI, and give me another answer, which is also correct. Okay. So this is the type of data, the integration that you may not think of, or you will spend a lot of time to browse it by your own. But in this one, it only take me 2 to 5 minutes to type in. I spend more time typing than it actually spend time answering. Okay. The next one I tried to draw AutoCAD DWG files, because those files are, when I communicate up to engineers, to designers, those are important. So I tried that. I give a verbal description of what I have imagined what the equipment rack would look like. Okay, I give some specifications, but not enough. ChatGPT answered it, and for instance, tell me that APC AP7400 is 1U and is mounted normally in a vertical way, but based on my description, I want it in a horizontal way. So it recognized that, and it gave me some Python programming, right? I plug the code and I run it in my Python environment. And it also gave me the AutoCAD instructions to do it in a different way. So if I have AutoCAD programs, I can do it myself, not using the Python programming. The result is something like this. For equipment rack, I think it's a pretty decent job, right? For equipment rack for AutoCAD. Then I got excited. I asked it to do connections for me, and it gave me this chicken finger type. That's messed up. I had to redo the drawing kind of myself. So again, it's not there yet. Okay. But if you don't know anything about AutoCAD, it's always a good start. At least now you have a platform that you share the same language with a designer who knows what you want. Okay. So you reduce the communication, increase the productivity in some sense. How far are we from this? This is a real drawing, equipment wiring diagram schematics. How far away? I think we are like 2-3 years down the road. Okay, unless again AI gather enough information about the system, it will not do an efficient job. Okay, AI also can improve our audio and video. All right, there are a lot of technologies available now. The immersive projector mapping, etc., and adaptive audio program. You can, for instance, a classroom like this way, if AI knows how many people are attending, it can fine-tune to a zone, only amplify that specific zone instead of driving all speakers in the room. Okay, that's just one implication. Another one is Alan is also going to talk about, that's for the AI facial recognition. And right now, it's not, it's there. We are using this Cisco thing at my school, but I know I leave that to him. Here is my conclusion of this talk. It's not another Google, okay? Google being the utility. AI, like it or not, I think it's more like the air that we breathe in, okay? Google is a utility that you don't want it, you don't use it. AI is, if you don't want it, it's still going to be there. So it's the air. But how far away I'm thinking about the AI, using the AI for real. AI, I think it's about 11 years old. Why I'm saying that? Because it reflects a lot of behaviors that I observed when I interact with my kid. Okay, who thinks he knows everything, but always give you some kind of errors in the process. Okay, that's my prediction. So given that, probably 7 years down the road, who knows? It will be mature enough to help me, right? To do, at least cut my lawns. AI expensive for now. The price will eventually go low. But if you want to do your the open source AI, it may not, because the AI chip is super expensive now. Okay, so another problem is we got so many options now. We need to level the ground. We need to wait for the winner, the final winner to come out. I start my talk with only five different AIs. You imagine how many times I have to interact with each one of them to figure out what kind of capabilities they are, right? You don't want to do that. They have to level the ground a little bit. You remember the DVI, you remember the HDMI, you remember the display ports. What do you see now? Pretty much display ports, right? Because the DVI just went away. This is the kind of competition you have to wait out. All right. Then the AI, I just want to remind you, AI is limited by training data set. It depends on what you are feeding it, okay? And then it's also depend on, as humans, we have our own ethical sets to limit what AI can or cannot do, right? The most important part is how good you are to ask questions at this time, okay? If you didn't ask a correct question, you're not going to get any good answer back. All right, I've done my part. Sorry, by the way, I forgot to say the slides were generated by AI based on my bullet points.
Just it. Good. Get that, Jane. All right. Back it up.
So welcome everybody. We are here I will stay near the lectern. I wander when I lecture, so I'm going to be good this time. So we're here to talk about the hybrid classroom of the future. So I'm Jane O'Connell. I'm the Associate Dean for Legal Information at the University of Florida's Levin College of Law. And joining me here in person is Alan Brown, our IT manager at the college. And shortly you will meet Troy Fisher, our AV lead, who is back in Gainesville, Florida, who will be hopefully doing a live demo for us without any technical issues. So even though we're focused on the hybrid classroom of the future, I wanted to kind of start by talking about how we got here. So probably like most of you, we hadn't really thought a lot about remote hybrid instruction prior to spring of 2020. We were an in-person residential college. So, we had classroom technology, we had projectors, we had cameras in the back of the room, we had ceiling mics, we had media site devices in all the rooms to capture the lecture, but those recordings were really mostly used for ADA purposes and other discrete things, and they weren't really meant for remote interaction. So it's not that we weren't thinking about how to incorporate more remote interaction. Our faculty lounge had some limited remote capabilities with wall-mounted monitors, 2 cameras. We're going to revisit the faculty lounge. This is foreshadowing. And actually in the middle of spring 2020, we were in the process of building our new event space, which has a full video wall in it and lots of mounted displays throughout the space. So this was a space that we were designing really for hybrid and interactive remote users, because this is really used for like colloquia and kind of some of our larger events. So we were thinking about it when the world changed. So we just didn't expect to incorporate as much technology as quickly as we did.
Yeah, and unlike many other schools across the country, UF 11 College of Law resumed in-person instructions starting in August 2020. And basically our team spent the vast majority of the summer rushing to get the classroom up and running for hybrid purposes. And then, you know, basically the students obviously could opt out, but most, as you know, probably the 1Ls attended in person, about half the 2Ls opted, and then, as you probably could say, the 3Ls, probably some of them showed up and most of them didn't. So by the time the students arrived in the classrooms, the College of Law did a great job with putting these individual 3 sliders up in between everybody, and they all had assigned seats. So basically, we had a lot of issues with that, with the audio, because the sound barrier, you know, and those types of things. It was just really tough to try to break down. So we decided to put confidence monitors in as well, which we did them on the floor and we did them in the air, which allowed, from the ceilings, which allowed the faculty to be able to see the students and to be able to see their content at the same time. And then we also installed some whiteboard capture, which are Captivos, where they could also do the Captivo, you know, they could put the Captivo on, they could write on the whiteboard, and the students will be able to see it not only in the class, but online as well. So basically at that point, over the past several years, we just basically continue to keep evolving the classrooms with these specific classrooms that we set up for the 1Ls. So it basically, you know, looks like what you see here. We have them up in the air. Some rooms you'll see them down on the bottom where we didn't have these up. So we have some variations, but this was a huge hit, more or less.
Yeah, and as somebody who's taught in this room, I really enjoy teaching in this space. So this is basically the view from your lectern when I'm out wandering around, as I tend to do, and then from the student in the back of the classroom. So I taught a hybrid 1L legal research class in August of 2020. So I had about 20 students in person and about 15 online. At that point in time, the confidence monitors were still down on the ground. There's a camera in the back and the front. It worked okay. For August 2020, we thought we were killing it just being able to do it that quickly. But we've really tried to continue to upgrade things. And last summer, our amazing tech team led by our AV lead, Troy Fisher, focused on upgrading our faculty lounge. So that was one space where we'd had some limited remote capability prior to COVID. But during the height of COVID, all of our faculty meetings were on Zoom, but then as we started to come back in person, we still had a lot of faculty who were not comfortable coming into the building. So the faculty lounge presented some issues. It is a long, skinny room with casual seating at one end. Additionally, there's a big old skylight in the middle of the room also. So basically, this was a challenging space. Prior to the upgrade, there were 2 cameras in the room. So in order to attempt whatever faculty member was speaking at the faculty meeting, a member of the IT team, usually Troy, who's going to be joining us, was sitting in every faculty meeting and manually controlling the camera so it would move to the speaker. But obviously with the lag in the camera, often by the time he got the camera to that person, somebody else had started speaking. And also the shape of the space made it basically impossible to cover with 2 cameras. So Troy started investigating options to upgrade this space, specifically really focusing on auto switching cameras due to the layout of the space and how we use the room. So last summer, he led the team in installing a Crestron One Beyond system And the reception from our faculty participating remotely has been amazing. Actually, I think in our second faculty meeting, one of the faculty members raised their hand and what they wanted to say, they didn't have a question about what we were talking about, just wanted to say, this is amazing and this is so much better than the experience last year. So let's get Troy in here.
This is going to be tricky, fun stuff here.
This is where we're keeping our fingers crossed.
All right. How's it going, guys?
We need to get some.
Oh.
Let's turn this off. There we go. There we go.
All right, Troy, can you hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Hear you.
All right. Cool.
I need to turn the volume up a little bit.
You guys have some questions for me? Or you just want to go straight into the tech of how all this works?
Hold on, Troy, 1 second.
All right.
Troy, please.
Troy, can you
Yeah.
hear us? Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, we hear you.
Everybody see okay, Troy, and everything? We good? All right. All
You
right.
can see me. You can't see yourself, but
Okay. All right, Troy. So I got a question for you, Jane. I got a few questions for you. So one, how did you decide on the One Beyond system?
well, it's kind of like Jane was saying, it's a strange shaped room. So we needed a system that can support a lot of cameras and is pretty customizable. This is all movable furniture, so we needed something that could do several different layouts and was just highly configurable for all of that movable furniture and allowed us to put it back together and still work, but still accurate. So we ended up going with the One Beyond system from Crestron just because it was the most, I guess, fully featured. There's not too many options available at that time, but Crestron, I think, is probably the leader of the pack.
So how did you work with the vendor to design the room?
So we did a bit of back and forth, and we thought initially about putting a camera on each side of the TV, but that turned out to be kind of a bad idea since you would get these different angles all the time that would make it kind of an unnatural experience. So we ended up going with stacking the cameras on top of each other to kind of maintain those same angles between shots. So that worked out really well, and we just tried to divide the room into kind of quadrants based on the large rectangle, because that's our primary use of this space. So we designed a file, they gave me some pointers, and away we went.
All right. So who did the install and what were the challenges, Troy?
We ended up doing the install in-house, pretty much just the team and I. Ran all the cables, replaced the TVs. I did the programming for it and then had a bit of help from Crestron to do the commissioning. So just kind of the final touches on the space to make it, you know, some of the stuff that we weren't thinking about. Some of the challenges were definitely the acoustics. This large skylight kind of makes it difficult to pinpoint where people are. And that's how the system kind of works, is where the audio is coming from. So you have to have good acoustics. I think even now, maybe we could use a couple more acoustic panels on the walls to kind of fine tune that even more. But those were some of the bigger challenges, is just the strange shape of the room.
So what technology is in the space now?
So right now we're using Shure MXA 920 ceiling microphones. Those are the big 2 foot by 2 foot ceiling tile mics. We're using a Shure digital signal processor, the Shure P300. Then we're using Crestron for control, the touch panel, and the One Beyond system. Then we also have a Zoom room, as well as the Zoom room on the touch panel. And what that does is allow it to be pretty much completely automated. So with the Crestron control system and the Zoom room, anybody can schedule the room. it joins the meeting automatically. When it joins the meeting, the control system faces the cameras forward and turns the displays on. And really, the only thing the users have to do is unmute the room. We just walk over to the touch panel and unmute. So it's a very robust system, and it works very well for the automation part of it and makes it very easy for anybody to use. They don't really have to be technically savvy at all. So let's get into how all of this actually works. I'm joined here today with our colleague, Nick Axford. Would you care to say a few words, Nick?
A few words.
Okay, so it kind of switched, but it was a little slow on that. Can you explain kind of how the switching works based on that?
Absolutely, Troy. So the reason why the camera didn't switch to me right away is because this program that we use for OneBeyond has been configured by us to only trigger a camera switch after someone speaks for a couple seconds. We believe that this configuration helps the camera switching feel a bit more natural, as well as prevent camera switching for someone who would say cough or drop their phone or something like that.
Right. So let's get a visual of how this actually works here. Go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So this is the design file for the room, and each one of these colored dots is a virtual microphone. We have one at each table, and that's our presets for the camera is to be a shot of the table. There's 2 people to a table, so about 44 people to the room.
Hold on
That's a
one
lot of
second,
people.
Troy.
Hold on one sec, Troy. We need to look at your image there.
You share the screen right now?
Yes.
Are you guys able to see that?
Not yet.
You can see. Can we flip that screen real quick? We go to that PC to this.
We can pull this over.
Yeah, that's what I was trying.
Oh, is it for spotlight? Spotlight?
Hold on, Troy. So can we switch to this screen on the touch panel?
No, this is the only one that projects it. Okay,
So Troy, go back, do me a favor and stop real quick.
Hold on a second. Can I try something?
Yeah. Yeah, we just can't, we need to put it to this. There we go, you just slide that over there. Excellent. All right, Troy. Thank you.
Okay. Where am I? All right, here we go. So this is the layout of the room in the design file. And each one of these colored little bubbles here is a virtual mic. So you have to be kind of within these little bubbles for the system to switch to you. So it acts like a giant calculator, and it takes XYZ positional data from the microphones. And if you are detected in one of these zones, or speech is detected in one of these little bubbles, then it'll switch to that camera shot, corresponding camera shot. Otherwise, it shouldn't switch. So let me kind of give you a little demo of how that works. I'm going to start the auto switching here, and I'll move around the room, and you can see the system as it tracks me and tries to figure out where I am and trigger these camera shots. It takes just a second to get all that going. All right. There it goes. Come on. There it goes. Okay. So here you can see it sees me here. It sees me. Let's see. Oh, it failed that. Of course. All right. So here we can see it sees me in this position right here and is calling this preset. A little blue bubble down here highlights, and that's the camera call. So as I continue to move around the room, you can see the mic's trying to kind of track me, and they have a general idea where I am. And I continue to move, and it still tries to track me, but it's not calling any of the other shots because I'm outside of those bubbles. So this is all of that positional data that's getting fed into the system, and it tries to trigger, but you have to be at that location for a few seconds, like we said earlier. So this is about a bit of the nuts and bolts of how it works behind the scenes. And with it being such a success and creating a much more personalized, video conferencing experience, we thought, it'd be good to trial this in one of our classrooms. So let's move on to that. All right, you guys want to talk about our new construction project going on?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, so. All right, so thank you, Troy. So we talked a little bit about the hybrid classroom in the future and in the past and our faculty lounge.
Do you want him to show or you guys to show?
No, we're showing. So we up.
And then also.
We
can only see.
cameras?
Yeah, we don't need to see him anymore.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Very good.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll wait for you.
Hold on.
You see that over there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So as I said, we talked a little bit about the hybrid classroom in the future, about in the past and our faculty lounge. This summer, basically, we're implementing the same technology, more or less, that Troy has implemented here in this hybrid room here. So basically in here, that's slide 13. We're going to take the lessons of what we learned designing and deploying the system in the faculty lounge and basically expanding it to these classrooms. One project that we were using in we're going to use this project more as a proof of concept. And then as things develop, we're going to try to move this back into some of the other classrooms that we use in this particular scenario.
So this classroom is used primarily for our LLM tax classes. Trying to get the slide.
Oh, you got to click on.
And so that's a program that does have a significant number of remote students. So we selected this classroom as our trial space for proof of concept before we roll it out to additional classrooms. So the goals for this classroom really were to have an enhanced hybrid experience by using a combination of auto tracking and auto switching cameras, upgraded microphones, acoustical ceiling tiles, and larger, brighter monitor displays rather than projectors. So general layout, it's very similar to the classroom I showed earlier. So again, with the bigger, brighter monitors, we're going to have the two cameras in the front that have the auto tracking and auto switching. So they'll go to preset student areas. So when a student in the classroom speaks, the camera will automatically go to them. And then also having still a camera in the back, but that will have auto tracking. So it can be a little closer, like zoomed in on the faculty member as they talk and wander around, rather than just like a static image from the back of the classroom. So Troy is again our lead on this project. So can we hop Troy back on and he can tell us a little bit more?
It'll be Troy, why don't you just go ahead and explain a little bit about the room itself? Try and push in. You still here, Troy?
Yeah. So when you're doing a video conferencing a lot in a classroom, and you want to have your students being displayed at the same time as the PowerPoint. So we thought the best way to do it was to put two displays side by side. You saw in some other pictures that they were further apart before. We had to kind of flatten the wall to be able to fit the two 98-inch displays in there. But yeah, essentially we're going to always show the students or a guest and the PowerPoint. So you want students looking, pretty close to the same spot for that. We don't want them looking from side to side of the room. That just kind of creates an awkward experience. And then we stack the 2 cameras in the middle there so that if there's a student on this side of the room that speaks, it'll be picked up by one camera. And if a student on the other side of the room speaks, the other camera will move to that student and do a clean cut. So you don't see any camera movement. This should provide a pretty natural video conferencing experience, you know, closer to like movies or TV shows. Much more personal.
And we use the Crestron One Beyond system in the faculty lounge. What system are we using in this space, Troy?
In this space, we're going to use a QSYS, QSYS all around. So we're going to use we chose QSYS because you can use their DSP as a processor, a control system, and also as a control system for the camera switching. So we'll be using what's called their automatic camera preset recall system. And one box can do all of those things. So it makes it a little more affordable and a little more scalable. The One Beyond system has a little more functionality for rooms with movable furniture. For example, you can put an overlay on top of a live shot so that you can move furniture around. We don't really need that since our furniture in the classrooms are fixed. So we went with a bit of a simpler setup, but we still expect to get shots of about 4 students in each preset because this is a 70-student room. And I think right now this technology is still kind of new. So getting a single shot of every single position, every single student is maybe a little not quite realistic yet. So, yeah.
All right, so and I guess you went through the reasons why we are using QSYS versus the other ones. Were there any other new things about this classroom that we're doing it other than what we would do in the faculty lounge?
The other big thing is the presenter tracking. So we'll be able to have a better close-up shot of the faculty as they kind of wander or roam around and interact with students. I think that'll be nice for the online students as well.
So I know we promised you the hybrid classroom of the future today. But as you've discovered, we're actually in the process of building out the first classroom, incorporating all of that technology at UF. So it should be ready by the start of the fall. So come back next year and we'll tell you how it worked out and what the pitfalls or if it all worked fabulously. So, questions? Yeah.
Did you want to put them on a mic?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering why you're still doing so much hybrid, and because we've had a lot of requests to have students be able to stay home and still attend class since the pandemic, but mostly according to our university, they don't want to support it. So are you still doing regular classes with students in different locations?
So for the LLM, that does have a large contingent of remote students. If you're a part-time student, you can be remote in that program. It's not a fully residential. So that's why we started in the specific classroom we started in now. Faculty, we still have a lot of faculty who are all over the country. We have we're in Gainesville, Florida. We have a lot of people who fly in and don't necessarily live there. So for those activities that felt important, what we're thinking we'll end up using some of this technology for, if we roll it out into other classrooms, is having external speakers come in because that has gotten so important, and being able to have a better experience for the students in the classroom and for the remote speaker to feel like they aren't just speaking to an unknown mass of people. But the LLM was the really driving factor for what we're doing this summer, and there are a few rooms that program uses, so it will probably be rolled out to that, and then some of the other kind of just big classrooms, so we have capability for people coming in remotely for any number of reasons.
Yeah, I know that the Zoom guests are still very common.
Yeah.
And I think the students really enjoy hearing from people out.
Yeah.
Compliments to your all your solutions on the technical.
Thank you. Yeah, and again, as I said, Gainesville, the Gator Nation is very strong throughout the country. We have really engaged, active alumni, and they don't live where we're at. And you know, getting to Gainesville is not always the easiest. So it really does allow our really engaged, active, but remote alumni to really participate in the life of the law school, not only in the classes, but as I said, in that event space. We host a lot of a variety of things, from like mayoral debates for the community, but also just lots of things that we have external alums Zoom in so they can participate in.
And a lot of the feedback to what you're saying about the people on Zoom that they really want to see the student or the person. So this tracking system allows you to be able to zoom into that person and hear them. So those are some of the things we've heard too. So.
Of course, faculty meetings where nobody's there during the summer.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So kudos to you guys, because that's awesome, because that's where the rubber is meeting the road in the next few years. So I just had a quick question. Is this initiative just being driven by the law school or just being driven by the greater University of Florida?
100% law school. And actually, I will say more specifically, the collaboration. This is previewing. Alan and I are going to talk tomorrow about the collaboration between the college and IT. And so it's really driven by a combination of the IT team and the leadership of the College of Law. So the faculty lounge, our prior dean, who has now left, but she wanted that room to work better.
Mhm.
It was really important to her to have that space work well. So we tapped Troy's knowledge about all of this and basically said, go learn, figure things out. As we were designing the space, she and myself and Alan and Troy would all be in the space talking about like all the ways that we wanted to be able to use the space in the future to make sure that the system that Troy designed would meet those things, but also then talking about like the limitations of what technology actually is. And also the price point always being a continual conversation. So it's really coming from the law school, and I'd say partially the leadership, but probably at least as importantly from the IT team, who I am lucky to work with the team I get to work with every day. They're amazing, and they're really committed to making the student experience as good as possible. So it's really a collaboration, but it's really from the college.
It's awesome.
Troy's our AV hero.
Yes. I should have put AV lead / hero.
You too, Nick. Good job, buddy. Nick's from Seattle, so he's missing.
Yeah, he's sad he's not here.
Hi, I am Althea Kippis. I wanted to share my experience because I've been teaching with this similar setup, same company. And I've been teaching hybrid courses like this with this technology for the past 2.5 years. And so originally the technology was only in the STEM program because everybody loves STEM more than anything else. But now we have it too. And I've been teaching all of my classes hybrid. And just if you want to know what it's like, it's a little weird getting used to it. And I would suggest having someone to help you with IT issues that come up the first time you teach that, or actually even I would have liked someone to be there all the time, but they wouldn't give that to me. But it was very, once you get used to it, you know, probably after the whole first year, I got used to it. And now it's really been a game changer for the program. So first of all, in terms of our student recruitment, which has gone up tremendously, and we have a higher caliber of student because our program is, I run the paralegal program at Kenyatta College, which is like 2 exits up from Stanford. And so we have people from all over California and all over the country taking our program because we have mostly asynchronous online classes, but now we're having hybrid classes. And we've gotten tremendously qualified people in our program, which has really enhanced the learning experience for everyone else. So it's, you know, your LLM program is a way to market and get really good people because, you know, these are experts in their field and they're not going to come to where we are. And law schools, maybe it's not an issue, but we need to build enrollment in our programs. And so, you know, mastering this technology, there were weird things that happen. And then there's also sometimes the company, I can't remember, I only see it when things go bad, but sometimes something in like a PowerPoint or something you're logging onto will trigger a copyright issue and then it shuts the system down. So I don't know, I'm explaining this very simply. That's when I call IT and find out why is it not working.
That would probably be HTTP, I think.
Yeah, so even though it doesn't, but that's one of the glitches. But I just wanted to share that once you get used to it, it is really a fun way. And if, you know, I can't make, because we're a paralegal program, whatever our district says, we can't make them turn on their cameras, but you probably can. So that's also a much better environment for engagement. And then, you know, once the students get used to it, faculty gets used to it, it works out really well. So thank you.
Thank you. That's good to hear. We're pretty excited to see how it goes. I think it's going to be a big hit.
Yep. I don't know if anybody had some questions for we as well. So I know we took a lot of time.
So we're basically over time, but if anybody has a question for Troy, he's happy to hang around and answer questions remotely. So thank you for coming.
But I figured I'd ask the question. Thanks for the